Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time I'm playing in the most popular Tier 10 heavy tank, at least in the last 30 days, the American T110e5. I guess this has been the most popular tank because it's been top of the tree, and you've been gaining a hell of a lot of crew experience, and also the vehicle's been on discount, so a lot of people have been buying it, and when people buy a tank for the first time, they generally like to play it, right? Now the T110e5, it's been very interesting for I think pretty much the last 6 months, or is it slightly longer? It could be longer now actually, since it was made HD, because frankly the armor seemed to get mega buffed, especially the weak point on top, the cupola. And so a lot of people have been thinking that the T110e5 is overpowered. And do you know what? I guess in some situations the T110e5 probably is. But the problem is being able to get the E5 into this kind of situation, and what we're going to be seeing in these couple of replays that I'm going to be showcasing are situations where the E5 is absolutely amazing as a tier 10 tank. So I'm playing in a platoon with my good buddies Phil and John. We're playing on fjords, and what I really like to do on fjords is I really hate going south. I feel like it's laborious and really hard to go around the corner. And so what we're going to be doing is going up to the medium tank location, and we are going to be harassing over this ridgeline. Now you saw me take a look back on the right side there, and that's because the only real downside to this location is that people can shoot you if they manage to advance all the way up here, so you've got to be careful with that. But apart from that, this position becomes, shall we say, a linear fight, and you can use the 8 degrees of gun depression that this vehicle has to just simply dominate. The T110e5 has got really frontally 2 weaknesses. One will be the cupola, but this is only really relevant if people are firing premium rounds or if they get a nice roll and they try and either shoot into the rim here. That has about 250, 260 millimeters of armor, so you're only probably going to be like a 50-50 to go through it if you have that amount of penetration. And the other weaknesses of the E5 obviously are the lower plate, specifically to the left and to the right of the lower plate. And that's where you really need to hit. And so what you find when you're driving the T110e5, somebody just subscribed as I was making a video. Thank you so much to Marty for continuing to sub. I don't know why you would do that as I was making a YouTube video, but thanks, buddy. Gosh. So yeah, it's really the lower left and the lower right that you have to watch out for in the E5. But just look at what our platoon is doing here. It's pretty much us 3 and an M103 in support. And we are dealing with high tier tanks. There's an AMX-30B who's now run away. We're taking on the TVP who's below us. We're putting shots into the AMX-50-120, and we're covering each other's flanks right now. Phil is watching out for my left, and I'm watching out for Phil's right. And so obviously in this position, if Phil wasn't there, then they would be shooting the side of my turret, which isn't exactly fantastic in this vehicle. And I'm stopping them from advancing around the corner and shooting Phil in the right, so we've got each other's side covered. Unfortunately, I make a bit of a mistake here. I give my side armor to the TVP T50/51, and that is a dangerous autoloader. Actually, it wasn't a TVP T50/51, it was just a T50, so he fired his full magazine, and he takes a little longer to do it than he does in the Tier 10 Czechoslovakian medium tank. But nevertheless, we just plowed through that position. We lost a bit of health. Phil's down to 69%. I'm down to 1,547 hit points, and John unfortunately lost a bit more health. And as the AMX-50B, while it does have an autoloader, it's just that little bit more vulnerable. Now E5's downslope, not the slowest of tanks, able to get up to about 40, and we take out the AMX-50-120, and we decide to now progress. So we picked up 5 kills apiece in under 4 minutes. I've done 4,300 damage, just purely grinding it out in the T110e5, and that is the optimum position for this tank. If you can get hull down and in that kind of a, shall we say, snappy engagement where they don't get the side of your armor, which is atrocious on this tank. How much is it exactly? It's 76 millimeters on the side, and it's only 38 millimeters on the rear of the tank. That is absolutely awful. And even the turret side, it's not disgusting, but 127 millimeters on the side of the turret is not fantastic. And so if you can get the E5, as I was saying, in that kind of a position with your 8 degrees of gun depression and just keep snapping in shots, you can be absolutely monstrous. Do you know one thing that's bizarre though, right? Is lots of people don't think that the FV215B is overpowered unless I guess it's going full auto on them. And then that crazy rate of fire, I think it's 7 rounds a minute, with that 120mm gun, the same caliber of gun that's on the T110e5, really does come into its own. But of course the FV215B has, apart from the significantly better rate of fire, it also has better aim time, it has better accuracy, but I guess one less degree of gun depression. But I would say that until the T110e5 was made HD, that its armor was pretty much similar to the FV215B. It had a very kind of weak lower plate like that tank. It also had a rather mediocre weak point on top with the turret. The FV215B's turret, I'd say, is actually probably better than the, shall we say, the non-HD or the standard definition E5. So I want to progress the fight here against the Jagdtiger. He aims down, he misses the left or the right of my lower plate, and so now I want to try and harass him. Unfortunately, he's managed to get my side. Not very good there. I probably should have kept my distance and tracked him again, and I really want to just lock him down right now. Looks like he's ignoring me and he's deciding to shoot my friends. I guess it's because they're on low health. Unfortunately, he kills the gorilla, but I've managed to get behind him now, and we should be able to take him out, hopefully, before he can finish off the T95. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, right into the back. So that's 3 kills apiece for our entire platoon now. Unfortunately, John did fall. But you know what? 9 kills within, gosh, with just under 9 minutes left on the game. Hey, we've been playing for 6 minutes, and to have 9 kills between us is a great result. Just a shame that John fell, otherwise might be getting a Brothers in Arms medal at tier 10, which is always a lovely thing to have. But I digress. I was talking about the differences between the FV215B and the T110e5. Obviously, FV has the better gun, but I'd say now that the E5 just has that much better armor. And I feel like that the E5 is in a better place. Gosh, look at this. He's firing a full heat clip at us. 2 bounces, 1 pen, and another bounce. But to be honest, this guy just panicked. I feel a little bit bad because if he'd been able to kill us there, he would have picked up a top gun. But hell, if you're loading heat and you can't manage to kill me at the end, buddy, I guess you didn't deserve it. Savage, baby, hey. But I guess one of the significant issues that a lot of people have with the T110e5 is it just feels so damn hard to pen frontally. Well, at least I guess if you're auto-aiming at it, yeah, it would be. So now we're looking at a completely different game on mines. I no longer have my good buddies with me, and our win percentage chance definitely feels that they've got some really good players on the enemy team, including some good players in their T110e5s. Now, and also a 113 that we're going to have to certainly watch out for. Now, there are 3 artillery on the enemy team. If there weren't artillery on the enemy team, then I would probably be taking my T110e5 up here, because I think this is a fantastic location for the tank. Up here you can try and harass the enemy who are trying to make their way up onto the hill, and also use that 8 degrees of gun depression to work this ridgeline to be able to attack out from here. But considering there are 3 self-propelled guns on the enemy team, I'm certainly going to be using the cover of this mound to try and engage in, shall we say, the classic heavy tank location on mines, which is to fight around the corner. Now, my first shot was a little bad there. I should have aimed it a slight bit lower, and then I would have probably taken the tracks off that T110e5, and we would have been in a really good position to be able to take him out. So what we're going to see here is the difference between a T110e5 driver who is using his armor correctly and a T110e5 driver who is not. Oh, the E100 fires a high explosive round. It hits my ally behind me and manages to just take off my tracks, but luckily no damage to me. So this T110e5, age-old mistake of not holding down your right mouse button when you look behind you. That means his turret turns and we get a nice easy shot into him. Well, at least into the side of his turret. Unfortunately, don't manage to pen the lower plate of the E100 there. So, I was talking about the differences between, shall we say, E5 drivers using their armor correctly and incorrectly. This is the correct angle to this is the correct way to angle the T110e5 is what I'm trying to say. From here, they're not going to hit your side armor. If you angle it like this, however, you can shoot the E5 on the inside of the tracks and be able to take them out. And that is the weak point on the lower left and the lower right of the E5 as well, as we clearly put one in there. Now, you'll notice that at the moment, I'm not firing any heat ammunition at all. And there you go, that's me over-angling. Just like that, and he's able to take our track off and also damage our tank. Luckily, we reload and we put one into his lower left, and it looks like we might have also killed his driver there or damaged his ammo rack as we hear the crit bell go up. So now, all of these heavy tanks are also accompanied by a tortoise, and a tortoise is certainly not something that you want to allow to shoot you the highest DPM on any tank in the game. But all of these guys are just not using their armor correctly, but I have to feel sorry for the tortoise. There's no real way for a tortoise to use its armor correctly. It's just a big box of health. Whenever I see one, I think that is 2,000 hit points, a very juicy snack. So we put a couple of rounds into him, and this is simply where a tortoise will never do well against an E5. I can put round after round after round into the top of his tank. That E5 used his armor incorrectly. He gave up his side there and we managed to punish him. So we're not really doing anything dramatically incredible here. Fair enough, he's hiding his weak point to the left, but that doesn't stop us from shooting his weak point to the right. Now there's a CDC who's playing a fantastic game by the looks of it. The fact that he's out on the east is getting the crossfire into my allies behind me is giving the enemy team a chance. But right now, even though that tortoise is firing APCR ammunition, which it has to have over 300 millimeters of penetration, it's just not going through our armor, so he can't compensate by dabbing his 2 key like I am about to do now and start to fire some heat rounds. And I think that's the first round I've missed all game. Maybe I should just stick to the AP rounds, hey guys. Anyway, I think I load 13 heat rounds in this vehicle. We're going to see how many we use and whether that impacts our profit later on in the game. Now, he just turned his turret as we fired. Bit of a misplay there by me. I really wanted to take him out. So my team has managed to take the hill, and this 34%er, I believe, is starting to look really, really good. The CDC doesn't manage to go through our side. Looks like he fired APCR as well. And the tortoise bounces yet another APCR round off our tank. Now, I'm not sure if he was using the 120mm. Perhaps that tortoise driver was using the 20-pounder. I didn't quite hear from the caliber of the shell, so unfortunate for him. And again, showing you the weak points of the E5's lower plate on the left and the right. Never aim in the center. Always aim on the left and the right and wait for your shot. Unfortunately, I can't quite depress the gun enough, so I pull back and he gives us his side armor. So it looks like I fired, is that 4? It looks like I fired 4 premium rounds this game, or is it 5? 4 or 5 premium rounds this game, and these heat rounds would be completely unnecessary to use on the Rheinmetall Borsig and on the Griller. In retrospect, I think I missed 2 of the heat rounds that I fired. One of them, I guess, was a little bit useful against the E100, perhaps against the E5, but unnecessary against the Tortoise, as you saw that, frankly, I was doing better before I even loaded them. So now we're going to be able to push on into base. This is starting to look like a feast. The only thing that I have to worry about, that Griller, you know, or the Borsig, either one of them can have very high alpha damage guns. So you'll see that I feel like I have enough time to reload. I probably should have done it a little while ago, but I just don't want to waste that heat ammunition on the very lightly armored German tank destroyers. Now, of course, there is a bat chat to the west. You can see me looking over there because I'm really concerned about him being able to get the side of the rear of my tank. Remember what I was saying earlier, 76mm of side armor, 38mm of rear armor. That's absolutely horrific. And a bat chat, that auto-loading French top-tier medium tank, would simply rip me apart. Talking about ripping things apart, I'm firing high explosive rounds right now against the very weak Borsig armor. 499 damage done there with the high explosive round. I keep 3 in this vehicle for these kind of situations. 539 with the second shell, and he just goes down. Was that an artillery strike that takes him out? Yep. And now I'm going to push the tempo against the Griller, who's on 15% of his health, so it shouldn't be too much of a trouble to just sneak a shell past the gun into his turret, and good night, sweetheart. So from here on, unfortunately, there's no more action for me. My friends just managed to find the bat chat on the enemy team, and they shut him down. And we take down a really good victory here. 7 minutes into the game with 7,200 damage and 4 kills. That's always a great result in any tank. So again, this was the T110e5 in its environment, i.e. hiding its lower plate, hiding its weak side armor, and using its fantastic aim time of 2 seconds to just pick apart its opponents through frankly knowing their weak points better than they knew ours. There's no doubt that the T110e5 is way better with its HD model than it was in its standard definition model, but I guess it really is the lack of awareness of the weak points of the T110e5 that has led to its reputation of it being overpowered. But what do the statistics say? Well, here are the win ratios of all of the tier 10 heavy tanks in the last 30 days. And a big shout out to vbaddict.net for these statistics. We can see that the T110e5 is now the most popular tier 10 heavy tank, and that's strongly down to the fact that it is top of the tree this month, and previously the IS-7 was the most popular tier 10 heavy. And if you believe the hype, then surely it should have the best win ratio out of all of these results. Out of these 11 vehicles, the T110e5 actually finishes 7th at 50.68%. Only better than the IS-4, the Type 5 heavy, the IS-7, and something that might surprise you, the T57 heavy. And everything here looks pretty much balanced, and it's only the 113 since it received that massive buff a couple of patches ago that seems to be outstanding. And obviously the Object 260, that's because generally the players that get this are going to be the most keen World of Tanks players who also probably have the better win ratios. So let's have a quick look at the results. In the first game on Fjords, we picked up a high caliber and a steel wall medal. We did manage to block 6,000 damage this game. The enemies just seem to be so willing to shoot points on the T110e5 that are frankly not that weak anymore. And our marksmanship was impeccable, 22 hits. And of those, 20 penetrated, giving us a high caliber medal for the 7,000 damage that we did. But Phil wasn't far behind us. He also picked up 6,000 damage in his game. And I don't think I had to fire any heat this game, so we made 66,000 credits profit, and even without a premium account, that's 32,000 credits profit. In the next game, we got a high caliber as well, and another steel wall, unsurprisingly. What kind of a steel wall was this? 4,000 damage blocked this time. We missed a few of the shells, and unfortunately the premium ones in the middle, so this time 23 out of 26, and 20 of those penetrated. We still made 43,000 credits profit after we resupply all of that ammunition, and even without a premium account, that's still over 11,000 credits profit. And so all in all, two very solid results in two rather quick games for the amount of damage and kills that we picked up. And so to conclude, the title of the video is the T110e5 Overpowered. Well, I don't really think it is. Fair enough, it is in a rather nice position now. It's much better than its previous standard definition model. And I really think the biggest misconception of this tank is the fact that the machine gun port on top of the turret is no longer a weak point, and a lot of people still think it is, and just seem to fire round after round after round that bounces off it. It's got about 260 millimeters of thickness. I'll show you exactly right now how thick the turret is. So you can see the rim that I'm talking about along the bottom, which is flat, is about 255 that you can go through, and when you shoot above the rim, it bounces up here to about 270 to 280. Here you can see the weakness on the lower left and the lower right, especially when you're aiming down at it. It's very important to not hit it in the center where it seems to be very powerful because of the angling. And if you are trying to shoot at the machine gun port of the T110e5, make sure you hit in the center mass if you can't hit that rim along the bottom, because if you hit to the left or the right, the angle is extreme and you're very unlikely to be able to go through. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel out. And use that more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen to see a plethora of other awesome T110e5 replays, and let me know in the comments down below if you think that the T110e5 is overpowered, or if you think it's an issue of people not knowing where to shoot it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.